Okay, to all of our participants, welcome to this IVRPA webinar. This will be a good one. To those who are not familiar, IVRPA is the only international association that is dedicated to the interests and needs of VR creatives as opposed to corporations. We are an organization that are primarily oriented towards education. So if you haven't seen it, please go to ivrpa.org, where you will find a lot of webinars. This webinar will be recorded. If you are a member, that you will be able to watch it. There is another webinar about krpano that is free to anybody. Let's see. I should have written this down. Okay, chat. If you want to chat, when you click the chat button, you will see a blue line above where you're writing. If you want it to go to everybody, please click that and click everybody. Otherwise, it only goes to the panelists. If you're going to ask questions while the presentation is going on, you can put them in there. You can put them in the Q&A section. After the formal presentation is complete, we will open it up to a general Q&A session. And if you want to speak, just click the raise your hand button and we will allow you to speak as well. Otherwise, we'll just read the question that you may have. I think that should do it. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Master of Ceremonies, Lauren Ibrando.
All right, thank you, Scott. I'm Lauren, and today, together with Thomas, we're going to do a showcase of software of two of the more popular products, krpano and Pano2VR. I'm a board member here at IVRPA, and you can see here my email. If you have any questions, please give me drop a line. And if you want to look at the webinars, you can see the link there at the lower right of ones that we've done in the past. I also placed in the chat a PDF version of this presentation. You'll see that there's going to be a lot of links in here. I won't be clicking on really most of them. They're going to include samples of other software, other ways of doing virtual tours, and then good examples out of those softwares. The two speakers, myself and Thomas, today covering the two products that we'll have as a showcase. I'm going to first quickly go through what are the features of a virtual tour or capabilities. They're not necessarily ones that you have to have in every virtual tour, but amongst the software tools that we're going to cover and the entire ecosystem, what are features of a virtual tour? Basically, how do you get around? How does the user interact with the virtual tour? And how do I enhance it with adding, multimedia, make it a more richer experience? And then, as with any software IT product, how do you handle large file sizes? How do you make sure that it's an efficient product? So that gets into Google Analytics tracking, multi-streaming of images and stuff like that. So these are all capabilities, features of the software. Then I want to cover the methods of building. So you can see where the two software tools that we're talking about, where they sit in this ecosystem. And that's an important slide. I'll spend a little bit of time on that, and it has a lot of links, but I'll just touch one of them. And then you'll see how those are broken down into really kind of going from turnkey to hard coding, and then really the introduction of scanning and LiDAR, and then now AI processing on top of that, photogrammetry and Gaussian splats and stuff like that. And then we'll get into the software showcase. I'll try to move through it quickly, but hopefully I don't talk too fast so we can get to a Q&A and you can ask questions. So let's get on to the next one. Now, as far as features, navigation, and movement, if you're new to virtual tours, definitely take a look at the PDF and go through these. Go look at how virtual tours are handling these. How do they handle? Is it do you click on a door to get into the next room? Do you have a list of sites within or exhibits within a museum that you want the person to get to? Do you have a strip of thumbnails along the bottom? Is it a place that has a nice floor plan or a nice map, and that's, something they'll want to incorporate in as far as the branding aspect? Are you working on, mobile devices, and or is it a headset where you're definitely going to want to have motion tracking as your navigation and movement? And then getting into the more complex or really more useful is if you're telling a story is the auto tour or guided path. Very similar to what is well known in video games, that if you give a person complete free rein, they can get lost and frustrated. If you put them into too restricted of a path, they get bored with it. So it's typically called head on rails, where you will have a guided path through, but they're able to explore on their own. And that's something that works very well in virtual tours. And then as you make more complex things filled with rich media, how do you keep the person from getting lost in what they've explored? So the breadcrumbs, heads up displays, treasure maps, things like that are become important. The interactivity of it, just what's the engagement of it? It's not just clicking and moving around, but what are the types of pop-ups? It's a web product, so you can integrate it with other pieces or have other pieces integrated into it. You can bring in models that pop up, and person explores a sculpture. Obviously, the images and videos are easy to pull in. And also the way in which the interaction, you really want to start to study, that when you're clicking on a button, the depressed state or it's grayed out or those types, think about, how that handles, um, how the software handles that type of stuff. And then does it handle localization? Or if you're producing an international product, does it automatically do that for you? And then if you're going to use it for educational, can you start to do assessment with it? Next one is just visual and audio enhancements, stereoscopic. Do I add in lighting, adaptive types of lighting? Do I, for construction uses, do I allow a time lapse where I have multiple imagery I can still be in the panorama and flow between the states? That's very useful in architectural work. You're seeing off to the right here, the skins. These are out of krpano. They're a single graphic that you crop and pull the pieces out of. It makes it very fast, but you can also swap out skins on the fly. And then ambient, having sound, directional sound, narration, background music, things like that. These are also features or capabilities that either the software will do for you, or you're going to program it in or use plugins. And last one is this is with any software product or really anything you build. How does it handle large files? How is it being posted? How do you get it up onto a website? How easy is that? Does it have a cloud support to where you're not having to embed it? You're a real estate person and you just want to be popping up tours or Google type things. Does it have direct integration with Google Street View? And if you're using it for social media campaign, are you able to directly output, or your staff directly output that out? Or if you're the other end of the spectrum and you're going to have to put this onto a big server of some kind, do you have the ability to put it onto a Drupal? Will it integrate with it? Do you have the packages, if I think that's what they call it, to where it can actually, or WordPress is, how is that integration for you? And then the last one is just tracking, how is it working, and Google Analytics and stuff like that. Let's see. Now this page, hopefully you've downloaded the uh, the PDF, and I'll post it again here at the end so people come in. This shows and this is my opinion, kind of trying to take a crack at the ecosystem here, and I'm breaking it down in this Venn diagram to three areas. One I would call the authored, or they'd be the builders or the turnkey solutions, lots of different words, but they're for content creators or photographers, people who don't want to code, or they have a minimal level of code, because it's not really no code or code. There's a blending there. And the two products that we'll be talking about today, you can see, are I'm kind of trying to differentiate between them. They have a lot of similarities. They can produce both, from simple kind of turnkey stuff to, very sophisticated things. But krpano, I'm putting a little bit more towards the coding realm, some of the scripting or some of the things that you can integrate it with. But I'm also moving it further away from the front end. It doesn't have the ability like Pano2VR does to just what you see is what you get, right? Drag and drop, move things around, and the code's done for you. So that's kind of the distinction, but with everything on here, it's not really definite. There's a lot of movement in these things. Matterport, for example, technically Matterport's a scanned. It sits in the realm of photogrammetry, LiDAR, Gaussian, AI assisted, point clouds, that kind of stuff. But it has obviously on the front end of it the ability to piece things together. They're incorporating AI into it where it'll start to recognize doors and things like that and start to integrate things a little bit. So, where does it sit on there? And just so you can see how I can't go through all of this, but to show you how it works is if you click on the title, and you can see the pop-up there. It'll take you to the main either company page or, if it's in these cases it's code, it'll take you to that forum or where you can find it at. And then the more interesting ones are the logo. I've tried to find the best example. Let me show you here. So if I click on this will pop up and hopefully you're seeing it, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you're seeing this is 3GS. 3GS is a very, very versatile package, and you're going to see it used in all kinds of things. But what's interesting here, or what I wanted to show, is that krpano does allow integration or use of 3JS. And this is an example that I believe it's 3JS sitting on using a krpano viewer. And so I tried to find here use cases where, professional, international. So I try not, when I find these examples, I'm trying to find ones that, well, as Jeff's last thing, his webinar is about is, making some money here. How can you do this? And this is a great use case of finding it'll bring up ambient. I mean, I think I have my sound. I'll just let the sound play anyway. So it's playing sound. If I had headphones on, it would be ambisonic. I'm going to just dismiss this. So I'm in this panorama and it's showing me the remaining seats. And I can hop to that seat. And then I'm going to go ahead and quickly cancel that so you can see. But you got the point. You got the point there is that as a use case of using this for allowing people to select their tickets in a theater and to actually hear and to see what they're going to experience versus the flat ticket master kind of a thing is an impressive use case. So that's VR use. Anyway, download this and just hop through here and play with them. You'll see the scanned ones over here. Really some cool stuff going on with these brand new things coming right out. I think a couple of these are GitHub repos. So if you're not into coding and stuff, they might be kind of a little bit of a downer, but you should just figure it out and get yourself so you can build things out of them. Now, I'm going to get now into the showcase and just again to say, I'm not going to go into the how-to. I wanted to show higher end capabilities of krpano, but we have a previous webinar that Matt had done, and it's in this PDF. You can click, go there. If you're not familiar with how, that's a great starting point for you. So now this is for what I wanted to show here is for krpano as far as its use as a development platform and your ability to build not just the standard virtual tour, but to build interactive components or pieces that would then be media that pop up. And I've found it useful for that. I didn't include one of the examples. If you go to, these are all courtesy of Tour. He's known in the community, and it's TUUR. And I have his website here. And if you go to his website, you'll see in the banner a painting, and there's a really nice gigapixel use, which if you're from this realm, you should be familiar. But look at the impressive part of that is not the gigapixel, and it's a nice one. You can zoom all the way in. It's a microscope view of a painting. The impressive part, though, is that the interface that he's built up. So it's not just, the plus zooming in and out. So that's something to look at. So here, the three examples I wanted to go through here are krpano being used in that way. Not just customization of the interface or aesthetics, but really customization of the user experience. And so the first one here is, I want to say the use case ahead of time is if you're creating a virtual tour, cultural, educational, maybe it's a car dealership. You probably have some type of a story you want to tell or a guided tour. This is an impressive way of doing it. And this capability exists in other software. He has really, kind of clever little intros here. So this is kind of like a little planet type of an intro, which is clever. And this is a panorama, right? I could sit and hop around in here. And I believe that, yeah, the name of the plugin that he had coded, and then this is available on the krpano site for purchase and use if your things. And I'm just going to go ahead and trigger it. You can see here, no matter where I would be at in the virtual tour, see, I might have taken my hands off. It's switched to a video mode that was prescribed. He's introducing hotspots that will now, and it's clever use. This is like a Harry Potter kind of a style, or a Superman, or Tourman or something. And he's flying around and doing these. So you can have videos, you could stop, have things pop up, play audio. So you could see that's a clever use of krpano to do that. The next one I want to show you here is, um, not to keep it too artistic, we have a lot of members that are in engineering, architecture, construction use, and we're seeing, especially with the simplification of recording to where you now have, Insta360 and other types of rigs that quite easy, anybody can use them. This is an example of using krpano to set up a multi-view. Again, you'll see other software tools that will have this as part of their package, but this is something that could be coded. And so at any stage you can, zoom in and, I'm a lot of functionality with this one. So that, again, engineering simulations, architectural, shows how you can use krpano to construct your own viewports and items like that. And the last one before I hand it over is, I would say this is a good use case for real estate mapping, planning, location-based. Maybe you're a yard care company doing estimates, or solar panels, things like you're using Google Maps a lot. And a lot of people will do that. You may do that using some of the Google Earth or those types of tools, but you could also have the ability to, so this is a panorama. He likes to play the drums, integrating within krpano a Google map, pretty standard. But what he has here is, you'll notice again the power, creating your own interfaces, creating your own tools, and you have the ability to annotate or mark up this Google map on a virtual tour. Maybe this is a virtual tour of the county indicating what the crops are or something, and you can add info. Let's call this corn, and then 2025. These are done, and I could have links that would maybe go to a data sheet or something, and you can see now that I have that as a pop-up, and it's now an active thing in a Google Maps, right? You can see the county, and that's the panorama where I'm at, but maybe I had a panorama done within that field. It would pop it up, but let me pop that out, and I believe well, yeah, I'm at 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead, stop there, and turn it over to Thomas and let him show you Pano2VR.
My trouble to share the screen. Here we go. Hello, my name is Thomas. I'm the CEO of Garden of Software. And thanks for the IVRPA to having me and to also allow me to introduce you to my software. So a little of introduction, like what is Pano2VR? Pano2VR is a virtual tour creation software. So you can create your virtual tour and then you can export it as HTML5, WebXR, or to Google Street View. It's a desktop app, so it runs on Windows or Mac. Everything's local, so nothing is uploaded to the internet. It's just a one-time payment, and you can produce as many tours as long as you want. Um, um, yeah, so it's like not per tour or whatever payment. This also means that like stuff like maintenance or updates happen on your own schedule. So if you're in the middle of an important project, don't install the latest update, do it on your own time. And also a big advantage, we don't have your data. We don't have a client's data. We have some big customers in very sensitive areas, and they don't want to have their data in the internet, and that's why they choose us. So a little bit more detailed feature list. We are around since 2005. The first version of Pano2VR was released 2007. So we have seen a lot of things. Like we started out with QuickTime VR, Flash, 3D transformations, now WebGL and WebXR. Pano2VR supports very large panoramas, so gigapixel, and also very large tours. So like we have customers with over 5,000 nodes. We support all different flavors like 8-bit, 16-bit images. We can also work with OpenXR and HDR images. We've built in tools to blur out faces. You can patch your images. You can translate your tour to multiple languages. We support directional sound. You can embed videos. We have pinned web elements, so we can pin a whole website inside our virtual tour, lensless floor plans, maps, overlays, animations like what was shown before, like fly-throughs to your virtual tour. And because this is like IVRPA and a lot of VR stuff, so I just want to highlight some WebXR features. You can use your custom skins, so you can style your virtual tour with your own elements. And we support hand tracking. We support controllers. So like the normal Quest controllers, but also like controllers on the Apple Vision Pro, so that for unexperienced users, they can press buttons to move through the tour. We support 360 and 180 video in mono and stereo. And we also support everything that like basically can run WebXR, so PC headsets with browsers. So I quickly want to show you how you build projects in Pano2VR and like highlight some features of the software. So first, you drag in a bunch of images. Pano2VR loads them. You save the project. You create a web output, and you have your virtual tour. Of course, like this is not very exciting, and it's like doesn't have any navigation. So the next thing you want to do is add a skin. So I'm just selecting a pre-built skin, and this will just add a basic navigation on the bottom where you can see all the panoramas that are in the tour. As you can see, Pano2VR automatically creates the little thumbnails, but this tour, like the start view, is not really that exciting. So the next thing you would do you select the default view for all your panoramas. So you just point to whatever you want to have the starting position for your panoramas. Like here, the boats, or yeah, just move them around. I'm only doing this for the first 4 nodes, but I guess you get the idea. And then you can just hit save, and the live update will automatically start the virtual tour with the new views. And you can also see, like, on the bottom, the thumbnails are like the new views are rendered there, so that the images are updated for all the panoramas. Then, of course, we also want to change the titles, so you can just select the node, type in a name, and here I'm using the keyboard shortcuts to go through the tour quickly and just type in the names. And as before, as soon as you hit save, it live updates the output, and you can see how this now looks. Of course, you also want to link the nodes together and have like proper hotspots to navigate through the tour. So because those images are geolocated, like they've already embedded GPS data, you can see the points on the map. And so we can just go to auto-link, and now all the nodes are connected, and you can see like the hotspots again have automatically generated thumbnail images, and you can navigate through. And because I said sequential, like the next view is always the view to the next hotspot, so you can walk around this virtual tour in a very easy way. And then as a next step, you can also add the map actually to the virtual tour. So you can just like click add map, you select the type of map you want. This one is a Google map, so you need to provide an API key. Yeah, and I guess, as you already know, if you hit save, it automatically updates. You see the map with the hotspots, and you can move through the tour, and you see a radar beam that shows where you're looking at. All our default skins are built with responsive design. So this means if you look at the tour on a phone, like it uses the same skin, but you can change certain aspects. Like here, the navigation shows a grid of icons instead of the line on the bottom to take better use of the real estate, or the map just closes if you hit a hotspot, so that you can easily navigate and just better use the real estate on a phone. We have a variety of default skins that ship with the software. So I'm quickly showing you some of them. They are very different styles and may work for different kind of projects. Like this is a very minimalistic one. The nodes have just little labels that you can go through. Or the Venice skin, where you have like on the bottom a controller that slides out, and not so much in your face navigation that can stay on, and also like the map is really subtle in the corner. You can look through those default skins and choose what you like, or we also have like third parties that sell skins, and the link is on our website. Another skin that I really like is the NATO skin, which is really like very minimalistic, very focus on the images and get out of the user's way of navigating. And of course, those skins also are responsive, so they work great on the phone, and like you can see, like the UI is moving out of the way if you open a map, etc., to take better use of the real estate or limited real estate on the phone. You can also configure and the skins and make them your own. like there's a very simple way. You can just select exit color in this case, like I'm switching to pink, and you can see like the live update, everything's in the color you've chosen. You can also like enable or disable certain features, and every built-in skin has different features and a different feature set that you can control this way. But if you really want to make a skin your own, I'm just showing a way. Like all those skin elements are built with our own skin editor. So like no magic coding or something, like they are created with our own tool. And so this also means you can just dig in and change things. Like here, I just want to show the distance to the next hotspot. So I'm just modifying this hotspot template and add to the title the distance, and you hit save. And then the virtual tour is updated, and all the labels show the distance to the next location. Of course, we also have like other hotspots types, so we're not limited to nodes. So you can just drag and drop in like a YouTube video or Wikipedia page or just a PDF file, and this will create hotspots with this type. And again, you hit save, and then this node will have those hotspots created for you. And yeah, like in this skin, the videos are those pop-ups for the PDF reader. But of course, you can also change it to a different skin. Like here, I'm using the Venice skin. And then like you have different icons and different windows. Certain skins maybe behave really different. Of course, those links also work on your mobile. So in this case, like the video is shown inline. If you click on the website, we actually just open the web page to use the real estate of the phone and show it in a better way. So how are we doing those things? And this kind of I think point that kind of differentiates us from other software. Also, like people are sometimes complaining that it's too complicated if you start out, but I think in the long run, if you create bigger and bigger projects, it helps tremendously to be faster and more efficient. So we use the concept called hotspot templates. So all the hotspots in the software are not like they don't have an icon directly attached to it, but they have a hotspot type. And this hotspot type is connected to the skin, and there you get the look and the icon for each hotspot. This means you can very simply and easily change the look of all the hotspots within your virtual tour just with a click, because they are all referenced. So and also like the title of the hotspots is just pulled in from the hotspot itself or from the node it links to. Like you can choose a chain of connections so that you only have to store the data in one place. So if the client says, oh, I want to rename this location to whatever, you only have to change it in one place, and you don't have to think of, did I change all the hotspots to it? Or it's just easier to manage all your data. And another concept that's I think unique is the node images. So basically, you can choose for each node the image that's automatically generated when you output the skin. So for hotspots, you can choose like the projection, like you can have a spherical view or fisheye view. Should it use the default view? Should it use the view when you arrive, etc.? So it's a lot of flexibility, but the advantage is like if you patch your images or like fix something in Photoshop later on, blur out faces, use a different image for this node. Everything's updated automatically, and you don't have to think like, did I forget this hotspot in node 17 to update? Another concept that we use, and I haven't shown you in this short introduction, is tags and logic blocks. Those things come in really really useful if you build larger tours. With tags, you can basically attach multiple tags to each node. And with the logic blocks, you can decide what should happen if I'm at the node with a certain tag. Like in this example that like I'm showing on the slide is changing the color for a restaurant or of a playground. Yeah. So if you have if the node is tagged with playground and you have a hotspot that links to this, you can change the color depending on those tags. Like those are really complicated concepts, and you don't have to use them. Like they are just there. Why I'm showing you this is like I just want to emphasize like the rabbit hole goes really, really deep, and there's a lot of things you can discover that will make your life easier if you build large projects. So of course, if you have built your tour, next thing is like, how do you want to show your work? We have like by default, the files are just generated on your hard drive, and it's an output folder, and you can upload this to your web server or use it in whatever way. But we also provide a cloud solution. So with one button click, you can upload the whole virtual tour to our GNOME cloud and manage the tour this way, like password protected, disable it. You see the traffic, etc. We use AWS CloudFront, so it's a content delivery network and works worldwide. But we also have CMS plugins. So if your client, for example, has a WordPress website, they can install our WordPress plugin, and then you can get as an output a package, and this package can be easily integrated in the website. Like we support like Elementor and Gutenberg blocks, etc. And we also have plugins for Joomla and Drupal. So, yeah. So whatever your client uses, this simplifies the process, but of course they can just like link to the folder. We also have a package viewer. This is useful if you don't want or you cannot use the internet to show your work. Like if you have sensitive material and you don't want to have this on the web server, then this is a way to carry this around and be only on this device. Or if you don't have internet and you want to show a client what you've done, the package viewer is available for iOS, Android, Windows, and is a native macOS app. Another thing I want to highlight is kind of features that we added to our latest release. First one is morph transitions. So those are transitions that give you kind of a 3D effect, like it pulls to the next hotspot, and you don't have to like this happens just automatically. Like you don't have to do any special work to make this look good. And another thing is generative patching. So if you have like here a tripod hole, then you just mark the area, press generate, and we send this area to OpenAI, and it generates a patch image. For one patch, this of course not that useful, but it really gets a time saver if you have a tour with same hole in there. So you can just mark the master node. This is a concept that we use in Pano2VR to apply operations to the whole tour. You can hit generate, and then it's uploaded to cloud, creates the patch for each node. And then you can just go through and see what the AI dreamt up and replaced your whole. And if you're like not happy, like in this case, the red tile in the middle is kind of not really nice, so you can just select this one node and generate a new patch and see if the AI dreams up something nicer. So what's next? I quickly want to give you a sneak peek for the next version. And yeah, this is 3D models. And of course, we'll also support 3D transitions, like proper 3D transitions. And as you can see, like also like in the 3D model, like we support the normal skin elements. So you can also, yeah, design them as you wish. Okay, that's it. No, when will this be released? Yeah, when it will be ready. We look for summer, but yeah, I don't want to make too many promises. Okay, that was it. Thank you for letting me showing my software.
Okay, Lauren, do you want to come back in?
Yep. We'll go ahead and just well, I'm just going to open it up for questions, or if we got some time, if somebody wants to show something of that they've built, or I definitely encourage people to drop in the chat so in the future we can see if you've got examples. I noticed some people said they had done Pano2VR projects. Go ahead and drop some of your projects, or if you know of good examples. I think the point of the showcase here is to introduce you to all of the various tools that are out there, but you got to do your homework and go look at what people are producing with them, and because you're inspired by that. At least that's how I used to learn, when I would just go looking at all the different virtual tours, opening them up. I do have a couple questions, or for, I guess, a question right off the top for Thomas, and it might be self-serving, but
Okay.
kind of curious about you mentioned you have a lot of customization in those skins, and a person looks
Yeah.
like a person could create, a designer, UI, UX designer could create a whole set of skins. Do you sell, or do you have third-party people that could sell a skin? Is that something?
Yes, we have a list of third parties on our website that some of them sell like packs for skins or icon sets. Also, we have some like they really build tailored solutions for you. So like you can, like they build the skin and the whole project, or getting like finish your tour, etc. Like this. Um, I'm like I can yeah. This is
So,
krpano, but
so you have the, I guess, while you were talking, I was opening up. If people haven't looked at krpano, or if you haven't used it, you have a lot of your stuff is built into yours. krpano has a lot of third-party folks that are building, and you can see the maps here, different types of maps. And you can purchase some of these, you can purchase some, you can use. And I'm going to show you really quickly. You can do some fun stuff with them. I'm going to use something from Tour again. Let me pull up. Yeah, I'll find something here really quick. I just want to show you an example of something that might have it on this one. Okay, so this is let me quit out of it. So this is just a standard krpano tool, and Tour creates a free plugin called Toolbox, which is very useful for, it has a whole bunch of little tools in it, but it has one, and I think if you press the T, and it brings this little toolbox up. So you'll see in krpano, you'll have a lot of folks programming things, and then they make these little modules and they'll sell them. I took his. I need to talk. I think I've sent him an email about it, but I need to talk to him about it. But you can add things like I added a screenshot, which is another plugin to it. So I added this camera icon, and I click it. It takes a high res, not a screenshot, but it's extracting and it's extracting the cubic. But I think I have it set at maybe 4,000 by 3,000 pixels, so it's a print quality, capable stuff. But the thing I also is I added in this. This is a very large museum. It's the Udvar-Hazy, and there's 160 panoramas. This is a map. It's not done yet, but so I'm building this map module. I'll eventually have a plus and minus so you can zoom in and out. The reason being that as you'll eventually I will eventually want to label all of the airplanes and stuff, but you can see that you can hop around stuff. So eventually, but you'll have uh, thousands of artifacts in here, and how am I going to find them? I'm taking his toolbox where he had this thing called sheets, and I'm starting to add the artifacts and having this as like a way in which I can organize everything. And these are it'll eventually have little pictures on them and stuff, but that's kind of an example of the use of plugins. And so back to this page again, you can see that you've got third-party tools, and that's an important part of a like if you get a piece of a virtual tour and you use it for a while, and I'm not sure about Matterport, so I don't want to use an example, but the Matterport tours all seem to have a very consistent look to them, and they're great tours. Is that because you can't customize it? After you've produced your fifth or sixth tour, or if you're working for a client, and they may have really strong branding, you need to be able to adjust the graphics. So these two programs being able to do it, that's a powerful one. Does anybody know about Matterport? Are you able to customize or go in and change the hotspots to that level? I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing.
You can, but Matterport, eh, just
It has some.
I love Pano2VR. Anyways, great presentation, Thomas and
Thank you.
Lauren. But no, again, I went Matterport. It's just too expensive now. I don't really think it's. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't be sharing. I'm going to share it. Just like
Well,
but it has its uses, but it's just when being an early guy getting into Matterport, it was really great in the beginning, and they've since kind of taken away stuff and it's made it more expensive. And even my clients, I mean, I don't even shoot Matterport anymore because it's just too expensive. So to be honest, I mean, unless the client wants to pay for it, but hey, I'll stop there. But I just want to say, love Pano2VR, best software out there. So
I actually
Thank you.
I use Pano2VR. I actually started out with TourWeaver, then Pano2VR, then I started doing krpano, but I still use Object 2VR. And I've loved that. It's so simple, and I used it
simple. Yeah.
when I worked in engineering, and we would do a lot of forensic stuff where we were doing non-destructive testing, where if you don't know what that means, it's like welding and you pour dyes on them and things, and you'll do this what they call a 5 times visual inspection. And I had actually introduced this process where we would take, create these images, stitch them together, and then we'd have the object then created. So it'd be this little package, and it was all made by Pano 2VR. So and it went with engineering samples. They'd have the high resolution where they could zoom in like a gigapixel, see the crack, but then they could also pop out and turn the object. So the question on examples of using stereoscopic. Yes, both of these programs do a stereoscopic. It's obviously headset is really the only use for that. But they do it. And I think the workflow for stereoscopic makes it, at least been for me, not something you would do for a full up virtual tour. It's more of like a single spot, something where the field of depth, and it makes, I mean, it's obviously a much better experience. And if you haven't seen the difference between having the same image pumped into both of your eyes versus the way it works, out, it's an impressive, but I think also the headsets really haven't reached the point. So I think that's kind of a limit to stereoscopic. Let's see what we got. Anything in the chat?
Question for Thomas there.
Yes. I'm currently having massive problems with Google Maps. Images are incorrectly assigned. Links don't work.
Yeah, the whole Street View saga, like this, they are this is like Google Street View, they yeah, I don't know.
Is that
They
because
fo
Google Maps has had pretty tremendous updates to the whole APIs and everything? I've
Yeah,
got
no,
flooded
and
with.
also like they switched out the teams and they like got rid of the trusted photography, and they are more focusing on to import videos and really like massive scale street view, but um, lower quality in the sense of like just get in a lot of miles instead of beautiful images. Like when they started with the trusted photographers program, like I think the goal was to have really high-end imagery in there and really nice shots. And now it seems more the focus is like massive data sets, and they constantly change the API. It's also like for us, it's constantly broken. Like basically every week, something else is not working, and it's hard to keep up. Well, hopefully it stabilizes at some point, but yeah, it,
Yeah, I've used them I've used krpano, and I have also been
mm.
having trouble with Google Maps integration and getting them to work.
I think is talking about the Street View, like
Oh, the
Google
Street View.
Maps in Street View, but yeah, also Google Maps is yeah.
Yeah, Google in general has been difficult to
Yeah.
deal with because I'm not sure what's up with them. But
Yeah, yeah.
let's
There
see.
also looks like, Thomas, there's a question, any updates for Object-2VR?
At the moment, we are focusing again on Pano2VR, and like as soon as like the like we released version 4, which was a big update. So like to basically get on par with the skin editor, etc. And yeah, we'll see. Like first, we want to get out version 8, and then let's see what happens
Right.
with Object-2VR. It's not dead, but it's yeah.
Well, what would be cool is if you could put in an Object-2VR object into Pano2VR, like a virtual
You can
car
already.
showroom.
Yeah,
Oh, you
you
can do
can
that
already
already?
do this. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Also
cool.
with like there's a drawing on our forum, like also with transparency, etc. And yeah, or you can link them together so that they share the same view, etc. Yeah, there's like cool examples, or use them as a map for.
Do you have a
Um,
3D object viewer? Because I'm seeing a lot of the Gaussian stuff. You can you can
yeah.
create models like crazy. Are you going to be able to pull those in? Like if you're doing
Like this is kind of the plan is to add this to Pano2VR and not to Object-2VR,
okay.
because it makes sense to like combine this with virtual tours and yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, do you think the image-based way of doing a model
Yeah,
go
of course
bye-bye?
this is yeah, this is a like Gaussian spreads, like everything else. Like if you create a 3D mesh out of an object, like this never looks as nice as the original thing. And Object-U is mostly used for things that are beautiful, and if you lose the reflections and beautiful details, then it's kind of, but with Gaussian splats, this kind of changes the game, because you can reproduce reflections and you can reproduce transparency in a really nice way. So yeah, I think
And
that the use for Object-VR will be yeah.
for everybody that slide, I could pull it up again, but in the lower part, you're seeing, what it's called the processed or the scanned or LiDAR, point click. They end up with, I see a question there, that you're ending up with 3D geometry, which is obviously a very, I mean, the ultimate experience is, stereoscopic vision with 6 degrees of freedom, meaning that you can move about the space. Because when you are
Yeah.
limited to your head on the top of the tripod, but that has always, that CAD realm has always looked fake. And we're so good as human beings at knowing the difference between real and not that it's either all or nothing. But I think eventually, and if you look at that diagram, you'll see in the very center is kind of the sweet spot of, all the tools are trying to move to that center spot, and that would be called a fully integrated tool. So that would be something that you don't have to code, but you can if you want. And it's kind of, I guess a question for Thomas is, I've been playing around with kind of R&D with AI's ability to describe images. And I first started its ability to create an accessible tag. So I do virtual tours for clients that require accessibility. So I have to provide a visual description of the equirectangular image. And I've got it so that whatever's the subject of that room, I don't have to describe like a flat wall behind me. If it's, a kitchen table, I can limit the view to that and then use AI, and AI does a wonderful job at it. So it got me to thinking, could AI place the hotspots in a room, in a tour automatically, knowing where the doors are at? And so I've been playing around with training it and the coordinate system, right? Horizontal, vertical coordinates of where I give it a whole bunch of images that I've done before and I've marked on the image and I've overlaid a grid and I'm trying to teach it. What do you think? I see you kind of smirking there.
It's a very interesting idea. Like we haven't gone down this path yet. Because like the thing is like I think this our strength is kind of the offline desktop app. This of course like requires the cloud, and then you need to buy AI tokens, and it's a different. So like
Yeah,
we are
yeah.
looking in those things, but it's not like our top priority at the moment to go in this direction because it's yeah.
And well, your sweet spot is the turnkey solution, is
Yeah.
for people that want to focus on, putting out the product. And if you're a real estate photographer or you're doing event spaces, restaurants, things like that, the second you got to open up a terminal window and start coding something, you're losing money. And so there could be a nerdy aspect where people will look like, oh, you don't know how to code. Oh, you don't know how to. No, that's really kind of silly. If the person's coding, they're not making money if they're
Yeah.
using. So that's where and krpano is great for. I found it useful for making really specific little pieces, really customized kinds of things. But I have a background in coding and development, and so I recognize that if you don't, it's a little
It's hard.
harder than your program. Um,
Yeah. No,
it-
our ideas also like a lot of automation, and then like all the skins can be designed in a way so that they are very efficient in getting out a lot of projects. Like we have tools like a droplet where basically just drop a bunch of panoramas, it creates the whole virtual tour for you if they are geolocated, like if the data set is prepared beforehand, like basically you can just let go, and everything's done for you.
Question for Scott, and I hope I don't get this wrong. Was the Yosemite one that Scott Heighton had done, was that done with Pano2VR?
Yes,
Yes, yeah,
yes.
Okay.
yeah.
And it's a superb example of what you can
Okay.
do.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's a crazy project. It's
And if I remember right, that he had a tremendous amount of panoramas.
Mhm.
And in my mind, having to put, I mean, he had a tremendous amount of panoramas. Having to put hotspots and to link those without the geolocation would be, I mean, it would just be mindless. Does anybody have that link? You can throw it in. Oh, thank you. Oh, the Scott's on. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, that shows off kind of the power of a massive virtual tour like that. I guess a question for Pano2VR. I've been playing around with krpano at outputs, HTML, XML, and
Mhm.
ChatGPT is pretty clever at explaining and adding scenes. If I've coded up a tour, it can edit it and do some things. just on your own, have you looked at what AI can do just from optimizing your own code, or because
Yeah, we use AI tools like also like the generative patching tool we showed, like it's also OpenAI stuff. Um, like we tried the Google is what's it called, the video assistant with our software. Like it makes up stuff. That's not how it works. And you also, if you've tried with other soft like this, it's basically good in pretending to know what to do, but it's
I've,
differs.
I've had luck
Uh,
with it explaining code. So if you're
yeah,
trying to learn krpano and you
yeah,
understand it enough and you're
yeah,
outputting, take that tour.xml, throw it into ChatGPT and say, explain this to me, and it'll go
mm,
through and does a pretty good job explaining it to
yeah.
you.
As we don't use code so much, and like basically you can build everything without like coding.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it doesn't like there's no textual description, and interpreting our software like this doesn't work that well as we
Yeah.
found. But like
Like, we got a question for you. It's from Brendan. Can you add tags to multi-panoramas in one go?
yes, you can just select them and tag them this way, and we can also import tags. So for example, if you have a process with Lightroom or whatever that can edit EXIF data or XMP data, we can import those tags. So yeah, or like even like normal macOS Finder, you can tag the images there and import them, and then you have the tags already in Pano2VR prepared.
Okay. Karen's writing in and she's saying that she's had luck with ChatGPT with it assisting with the Java. And I
Yeah.
really want to put that out there. I'm really impressed with. I agree that I would be nervous to have it rewrite, like, hey, rewrite my whole tour for me. But having it go through and add comments, and I
Mm,
do like to. I have some clients that I've built the tour in krpano, so I'm into the situation, and they want to maintain and update the tour. It's a museum, and they want to swap. They have somebody's birthday coming up, and they want to have that artist as a hotspot now, and they don't have this before. And I've been able to I create the tour, and then I can hand that master file to it and say, put heavy comments or explain this, for a person who has never used KRPano before. And I can
mm,
have that as a separate one. I can also create manuals for them. And I imagine you could do that. That might come up with Pano2VR that you might have a client or I guess the thing is,
yeah,
it's been a business case for me where I you don't want to just hand the tour to somebody and then, oh, we'll have a help desk or I'll help you maintain it. If you can get them interested in learning how to, if they're big enough, and they can start to, then you can train them on Pano2VR is obviously a much better choice for
mm,
something like that. You can build the tour
mm,
up, hand them the software license, do it right, and with the
yeah.
tool,
I hope
train
so.
them. And
Like in Pano2VR, like what we've added is like you can add comments to things and you can color code skins, for example. Like this, we have a lot of customers who do it this way. Yeah. So basically, uh, like the customer should edit all the blue fields but don't touch everything else, and it's like, or in the red field you fill in whatever data you want to put in, and stuff like this, and we have a comment field where you can describe what should go in there or how you do it, and what's like expected in this field or what this influences, etc. So this is like a way how customers basically give the work to their clients, and like that they can modify the tour on their own. And it's also like like I can go like we have also custom forms where you can build, or the HTML templates can be customized. So you can add your own forms and own fields where you have internal part IDs for whatever, or location IDs that you manage, and use those fields in the output and replace stuff there, or attach it to whatever. It's like, and this can all be done by JavaScript, and yeah, you can go crazy. Like this is
yeah, that's we went through all those features and capabilities, and in order to choose them correctly and put the story together, you have to start talking about design philosophies and aesthetics
Yeah.
and color selections and things like that. And we'll have a webinar on that here at some point because I'd be curious. Like for example, you design these skins and their krpano has them as well. How is that initial default UI's design? What went into the thinking of you and Klaus to where you came up with this? And it'd be interesting
Yeah,
to.
this was like we hired graphic designers.
Okay,
This was
that's a
so
good
it's
answer
like
then.
they like we Luca Vascon, like he's did some things for
Yeah.
IVRPA as well. Like you may know him and Chiara. And our own in-house designer designed some of the other skins. So we need to bring them on. They can explain it in a better way what their choices were.
I'd like to have and then start to talk about VR because that transition, none of what we really talked about today, at least I did, features and capabilities dealt with the VR. You have a headset now and you're looking at you look and or the gaze and all that kind of stuff. We have a question, but I wanted to just before I forgot, I wanted to point out one of the features that you kind of quickly went over. I've had an experience. It's a very powerful or very useful one, and that is the integration with Drupal, those types of enterprise servers. You quickly mentioned that you can just point to the folder and that is a get around. But if you're dealing with a very stringent client or somebody who has really locked their server down, they're not going to want to do that. What that is that the tour that's sitting in a folder just gets pulled inside their thing and then you point to it as a web link. That's not really what they like. They like to have it totally within their system and it's called a package and all of that. Having that done with Pano2VR, having that capability, that's very powerful. If you go to
Yeah,
move
no.
to an enterprise, you'll find out the hard way, like I did, that it's not easy to do. Or if you played with WordPress, you certainly know how being able to integrate 360.
Yeah, and the problem here is like you even have a I don't know, fourth party involved that like the web designer of your client that is tasked to integrate the tour. And so like we built this plugin to make their job easier because they may not know what a virtual tour is and they don't want to deal with it. So we like in WordPress, it's just an element that they know how to
Okay.
integrate into whatever design they create. And then like
And most of the WordPress sites, they're using Elementor as their building tool. So
yeah, exactly.
you're
So,
familiar
so
with
we
that.
have Elementor blocks, and
Yeah, it couldn't be
you can
simpler.
choose the size and drag it in and whatever, and the web designer doesn't have to know what a virtual tour is, and yeah, so
I'm going to actually
that's how we solve this problem.
I'm going to
Basically
update my
for you.
Pano2VR because I do have a client that has a WordPress site, and I
Mm.
wanted to put some 360 of their office space, and I don't want to mess with this. But it'd be very simple to just because it's not a very complex one, just pop it up and do it. There's a question about
I have something I just want to mention. If you are a IVRPA member, Pano2VR licenses, Thomas, I'm assuming you're still giving the 10% discount to.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
That alone pays for your membership.
There's a question. I put the PDF up again just so people can take a look at it. And especially if you're just starting out and you're really interested in virtual tours and you don't really know where you want to go, definitely look and play with those things. If you happen to be in coding or you're familiar with it, go look at the 3GS and Babylon and those. They make some really cool stuff. Um, there's a question about the initial loading of the tour and load screens. I could answer it for Thomas. You can do just about anything. You can piece anything together and do the timing. And that probably would go into what's the story you want to tell? I know sometimes a little planet's cool. Um, it's also, I know I've noticed some of tour stuff where has really sophisticated things. A loading screen, simple. You notice the two people, cartoonish sitting on a couch that while I'm looking at that and kind of amused that couple seconds, the really heavy thing is loading in the background. So a lot of times designing your initial loading process or procedure and stuff is is also not just aesthetics, but it's performance. And so having a portal screen or a jump page, or, where you want to just necessarily like, oh, here's the virtual tour, click on it, and they click on it and they get to it. You want to have click on the virtual tour, and then it takes them to a page that has, it talks about the virtual tour. It's got a start button and it's loading it in the background. But Thomas, what would you kind of?
Yeah, no, and it's also like to hide some nastiness, like as you said, like the loading time in the background, like basically while you're pulling in stuff, like have something nice to look at, and also like the annoyance with starting sound, as you've seen, like on my examples, like as soon as you have sound in the virtual tour, you need to have a click action that enables the sound. But if you can hide it under a start virtual tour button, then it doesn't look that intimidating, and people will click on it, and you have to click, and it makes the browser happy, and you're allowed to play sound in the background. So yeah, like we have seen some clever designs, but like our default skins, of course, yeah, they are, yeah, you need to be like as neutral as possible to be for as many projects as possible, but you can go crazy and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why uh, go out and look at, go to
Yeah,
Pano2VR, look
get
at the
inspired.
showcase and get
There's great
inspired.
great examples on the web. Yeah.
Yeah, and to look at how the different, how things are done, and that's you'll find at least when I started out, I learned the tool pretty quickly, and that I was amazed with was the first stitching. The first time I put a panorama together, and I could put myself in the room, and I was going all over the place taking pictures, but it wasn't long before I wanted it to do something. I didn't. The eye candy was running out, and that's where. You have to start getting in. You don't know what you want to do, so you got to go look at what other people are doing. And I don't know. I mean, I used to go to the forums. I'm not really sure what you do now. I need
Yes.
to kind of be re-inspired. I like doing these webinars has been wonderful for me because I go out.
Yeah.
I found that this Godzilla Pro, and I was so amazed with what they're up to, and yeah, I had thought Matterport was kind of the only one in that rent, but no, there's all kinds of stuff coming up. So yeah, and really clever ways of doing things. The krpano site has a lot of the plugins you can just kind of, or has showcase or examples you can click on.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have a question from Brandon Gee, regarding the PDF that you
yeah,
uploaded earlier.
let me put it up there again. There's other people, I'm going to do it one last time here. And if you don't get it, or if you're viewing this webinar in the future, um, go ahead and just write me an email and I'll send it to you. So if you don't get this, that should give it to people again.
On the website where you can watch the webinar on demand, we can provide a link there that you can download it in the description.
Okay. And I was really kind of overwhelmed when I went out doing this trade study of virtual tours. And it was kind of funny. I made the graphics on a slide and I started to you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of programs that aren't on there. And I feel kind of bad because I just kind of ran out of room. I just kept shrinking the things down. Like, that's it. We're just going to have to. But I'll take that and turn it into some type of a table and like I guess showcase. I'd like to kind of go out and find all of the really cool virtual tours and works and what, because like, you create a program like Pano2VR and then you put it out into the world and artists and people get a hold of it and then they start to do some real, and I imagine you've been kind of surprised over the years, Thomas, with what people end up
Yeah,
doing
no,
with your software.
like yeah, it's kind of great. Like for example, we added the feature to store values, like gamification of virtual tours, and we got a feature request like, oh, like I'm running out of for 50 kilobytes of cookie space to store states in a virtual tour. It's like, what are you doing? Like, this is just like, this was never built for such insane amount of uh, uh, um, states and everything. And like we have it as an example on our web page. Like, this is surviving extinction, it's called. Like it's a game where you can try to survive evolution, and it's insane that this was all built just with Pano2VR and all the tools. And the when I first started with the skin editor, it was to have buttons that you can navigate around, but yeah, people turned this into monsters. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's neat to see I've seen some gamification. 3D Vista has one on their website where they've made a whole little movie and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, at its core, VR and WebGL and those is a very efficient graphics handling. It doesn't necessarily have to be wrapped around you in the form of a panorama. It can be the objects in front of you or some gigantic resolution that you zoom in on. There's a question, are we still have time for krpano? If there's any questions on krpano, I consider myself an intermediate user, only because the people that call themselves power users or expert users are just so good. There's some really impressive people. And I guess a point too, I sometimes will use Freelancer or Upwork or those. You will find now krpano capable coders or people, internationally. And I have a couple times been producing a very complex product and I've gotten stumped on the coding and $100, $200, somebody has come in and fixed something. So that's an option for you. But is there a question on krpano or from Gregory? And then Brendan, I guess you're not seeing it, but go ahead and just write me an email. Um, my thing is on here. I'll share my screen on the front here again. Boom, boom. There we go. So lower left is my email. And I think that's kind of it. Unless there's any more questions or anybody want to discuss.
I'll just make two observations. One, Thomas, I think can we stop sharing the screen for a moment?
Oh, yep, thank you.
Thomas, I started with Pano2VR back, I think, in version 2. And the evolution that you've made since then is just astounding.
Incredible.
Truly, yes.
Yeah, I know when I put together the slide, it like came like what monster this has become, and yeah, we do so many things, it's hard to put it on slides. It's
I want to thank you for being such an important part of this VR community. You've been around. I started out on one of your tools too. I was going to go check to see what version I have, but it's the longevity, the contribution that you've made. It's very important. When Kohler's not around anymore, and that was a real blow. I was heavy into 360 video when Kohler went up, and then I couldn't do it anymore.
Now it's also like the thank goes also out to the IVRPA. Like this was a big part why I'm where I am, because like I was in Berkeley the first of my first IVRPA conference in 2007, and it's like I've met a lot of interesting people, got a lot of ideas, and this is yeah, that's why I'm still supporting this, because I like it was such an important part of my getting into this whole field, and seeing that it's bigger than what I tried to do at first. Like I started with the command line tool that just creates QTVR images on Windows to take part of the worldwide panorama. This was the motivation, and then it's like, oh, there's so many people out there that go so much, like this rabbit hole goes so much deeper,
Yeah.
and IVRPA was a great conduit into this world.
Yeah, we're trying to bring and we'll go into these. We didn't really even touch these things, so we'll do a survey of things. We're going to probably do something in the 3D, the Gaussing, photogrammetry, something in that realm. Next will be maybe we'll do two, but we'll come back to these pieces of software and do really in-depths and maybe do in how-tos. And I just noticed a couple questions about the coding. For krpano, if you're really serious about it, and actually I'd say this for kind of, even Pano2VR, if you're really serious about starting to get really into it, and you're moving forward, learn the fundamentals of JavaScript programming, XML scripting, and that's independent of krpano. krpano is written in JavaScript, and you build the interactivity with XML scripting and things like that. So you can learn that yourself. So maybe before you learn krpano, go do some YouTube videos or whatever on JavaScript so you're comfortable with that code. Also look at what is the development, or what's it called, integrated development environment. Like, learn how to use a text editor, because krpano you're doing a lot of text, so is it Visual Studio. I like to use TextMate on a Mac. It's just simple and it's easy to use. But that's what I do. And then the Chat GPT has been very useful. Go, if you purchased and you created your first default, take it and dump it into Chat GPT and tell it, teach me how to use this. It actually does a pretty good job at it.
I will point out that Matt had the krpano introduction a
Yes.
few years ago. It's available on our webinars page to anybody. And that gives you a real good idea of how you start with coding. Just following the examples on the krpano documentation, you can learn how to do that. As far as integrated development environment, I still use Dreamweaver, but Visual Code is probably more the way that you should go.
Dreamweaver is cool.
Yeah, but they're not updating anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else?
No, it's have I used CMS4VR? No, and I didn't put them on the list. And again, just if somebody's watching this and they're like, hey, you didn't even include us. We're the biggest piece of software out there. There's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of things coming up, and we'll add to that list and we'll try to, cover all of them.
By
I
the
will
way,
say-
there's a 10% discount for IVRPA members with Garden Gnome.
Yep, we mentioned that, but absolutely, it's one, again, one of the nice benefits. And thank you, Thomas, for doing that.
And Thomas, we expect another 50 years out of you. So
Yeah, okay.
I'll make
Let's
sure.
see.
Yes, please.
We'll try.
Okay, that's a
Thomas,
wrap.
I have a question. You said that Pano2VR supported Apple Vision Pro,
Yeah, we do.
so you can see the actual tour on site.
Yeah,
with
no, it's
headset.
a full immersive view. So, and we also do hand tracking, and like the Vision Pro is kind of weird because you don't have a controller, so you have basically two modes, like the fake hand tracking where the Vision Pro pretends to be have controllers, so your fingers kind of emulate the controller. You can run it in this mode, or you can have proper hand tracking and then clicking hotspots. You cannot really do the eye tracking because of privacy concerns, and Apple doesn't open up this the API, and so we don't know where you're looking, so we cannot highlight hotspots. So that's why we decided to go with hand tracking, because then you can point out at the hotspot and then we can show information and do it this way. But Apple Vision Pro is a really great device to see panoramas because of the resolution. Like, this is just awesome. But Apple being Apple, like, it's like there's this limitation that you cannot play at the moment, at least videos, because it needs a mouse click to start a video. But you're in a yeah. Anyway, I hope they fix those bugs. But
Yeah.
yeah. No, but like, I actually flew to San Francisco to pick up a Vision Pro because it's still not available in Austria. But I was so excited to have this in my hands and like see the resolution. And it's like, I think it's an awesome device. I hope it doesn't go away. We'll see.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the link, the question about everybody who's been viewing this, you'll get a link once it's downloaded and available for viewing. Yeah, I agree. I'm also very excited about the combination of 360 panoramas, photogrammetry. I've been playing with photogrammetry, both the blender, well, kind of the blender route. And I mean, it only works if you're working with very flat, simple. Other than that, it becomes a chore. It feels like I'm back into CAD, making CAD models again, and I wanted to leave that in my past. So, but the Gaussian is just the some of the things I've seen where it was interiors of car and they have a 360, Insta360 on a pole, and they just take the camera and they run it through one window, through the car and then out the window and then pull it back. And they're able to create a really impressive, model out of that with all the lighting and the rest of it. But out of all of the examples, you'll see these when you go to look at the samples on the PDF. The one thing that's missing, though, is all of those features. They've got the last one, they've got the image down, but there's nothing else there. There's no navigation. They don't even explain. You'll notice that they're dumping up. These are companies that they're showing off their product, beautiful model, but they're not even explaining how you are to rotate around or use it. They're just assuming you'll notice that if you go think of it as a designer, or if you're designing a user interface, when you go look at some of the scanned ones, not Matterport, because they've put the work into it, but the other ones, notice how little thought has been going into the interface, how the buttons and everything else, and that kind of reinforces that the Gaussian is just a new tool. And if you don't
Yeah,
have,
it's very fluid. Like this is another problem. Like there's so many different versions of Gaussian splats at the moment, and it's like, yeah, and the papers coming out left and right.
Yeah.
Of course, we are also interested in looking into this, but it's yeah,
and that's a good point there is,
see where this goes.
I've said this before, if you're interested in this, if you're young and you're starting out and you're going to do VR forever, the GitHub, the repos, before something becomes a packaged application, you can see it in work. Not as, in the form of papers, but the papers are on a GitHub repo, and you're able to actually download this software. It's open source and play with it. And it's pretty exciting to download some new thing that somebody just wrote a paper on and they're sharing it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool to be on that cutting edge of this
Yeah.
field. Can we navigate using SuperSplat? Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm new to it. So I'm just gonna.
It's amazing. It's a website where you can upload your Gaussians, and you can even create a camera movements, and you can even export it to view it on your headsets. It's really cool.
Okay. I wonder what, there might be a market, because you're going to see everybody, because you can do it with your phone, right? So everybody's going to start making little whatevers, splats.
Yep.
Are they going to share them? Is there a
They
Facebook?
have a library where you can see all the splats people are making, so they can use it on VR projects, for example.
Yeah, I wonder if someday this, something replaces Facebook, Twitter, and the rest of them, because it is immersive, or you're able to share your little piece, your little chunk, with other people in an experience way, not.
There is a metaverse space that is called Arrival that I showed to Stephanie, and you can upload your own Gaussian splat, and you can make like a gallery, so everyone in their avatars can walk and see it.
All right, we got to do that.
It's an Austrian company. I just need to put in a
really?
plug for
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, we're in an exciting field. It's a broad one, and it's fun. So anyway, let's see, share the address. Oh, okay.
I think it's Arrival space.
Advantage or collaboration benefits with. I'm not sure I understand the question. When krpano is independent tour maker, then what is the advantage or collaboration benefits with Pano? They're two separate software companies. I might be misunderstanding the question there.
Well, Pano2VR just rocks anyway, so.
Yeah, it's a great piece of software.
One has a user interface and the other doesn't.
Exactly.
There you go.
The one One has UI, so you can build easily, and the other one you have to code it.
krpano does have a basic UI for creating a virtual tour, which is a semi-GUI thing. Klaus is working on a fully integrated graphic user interface for programming that he says is closer than ever to being done. So,
I'm going to have my AI model trained.
oh, there you go.
Where you just tell it, hey, I want to create a, you know, these many hotspots, and you just dump the images and it just makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail. Now, I get a kick out of ChatGPT sometimes. Sometimes the hallucination, it's definitely not something you would leave to like answer the phone, ChatGPT, and just, you know, talk to everybody. No, it's
Now
not.
you
At the end of
can.
the day.
Now you can.
Yeah,
They're called
you know,
agents.
yeah, you'll get in trouble too with that ChatGPT. So anyway, thank you everyone. I think we're good. So we're at an hour and a half. Thank you again, Thomas, for showing
Yeah,
up.
thank you,
It
Thomas.
was a pleasure.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, take care.